Hey everyone, Chen here. I visited the Canon lens factory in Japan for the first time. Last year, I had a chance to go to Canon headquarters in Japan, in Yokohama, for the very first time. For those of you folks who don't know, I am a Canon Explorer of Light, and I have been since winter of 2019. The Canon Explorer of Light program is something that I've always looked up to. When I was just getting into photography, I saw the roster of photographers that they had, including all of these shooters that were the top of their field. We're talking NFL, sports, weather, landscape, you name it. There's so many incredible photographers right now that are explorers of light. There's no question that I feel so honored to be mentioned even in the same sentence as these other individuals, but to become an explorer of light was really a huge rite of passage for me, especially because I'm the only car or motorsports photographer on the roster. This year, they invited me and a bunch of other individuals to go check out how Canon lenses are made. We took the bullet train all the way up to Utsunomiya, which is known for their dumplings, but I guess they're also known for lens making. We arrived to a huge reception, and it was just so cool to see all the people from the factory coming out to welcome us with open arms. What I thought was really cool was that they gave us these name tags as well as these Canon outfits that all the factory workers wear. First off, they ran us through the agenda. They gave us a bit of the run of show, and they talked about the plant itself. It was interesting because most of the presentations were in Japanese, while many of the engineers and many of the technicians spoke perfectly good English. They just felt a lot more comfortable with their native tongue. So with that said, I wore a translator, and we had translators with us that would translate right away just so we could understand what they're saying. Going into this, I knew that they were going to be very selective in terms of what they can allow us to film and what they can't. With that said, I was very surprised at how many things they allowed us to film. They really pulled back the curtains in terms of all of the processes that they use to make these incredible lenses. The day started off pretty strong. They showed us what BR glass is, and that's a piece of glass that's actually pretty small, that is in one of my favorite all-time lenses, the EF3514. I never understood why that lens was so sharp and it produced such beautiful images until now. In fact, I'll be honest, I prefer the EF variant versus the RF variant. Nothing wrong with the RF glass. I have both, but I just prefer the look of the EF, and part of it is because it has that BR element. BR stands for blue spectrum refractive. I'm not gonna pretend like I know all the science behind what they showed us or anything about cameras or lenses. I don't know how they work, but they did show us a demonstration where they put a normal element into a glass of water, and then they put the BR element in the same glass of water. The BR glass, for whatever reason, completely disappears. They also showed us some live demonstrations with a Canon camera with a BR element, as well as a competitor camera with a similar lens without BR glass. They also showed us some examples of how image stabilization works, the motors. They showed us some of the current technology as well as the new technology. I think the thing that really surprised me the most was, while there were so many automated machines making these lenses, we were able to see the process, but unfortunately we weren't able to show that side of the lens making factory. What we were able to show was the hand polishing and human side of lens making that really blew me away. This is something that I just didn't know was part of the process still. After all these years and after all of this automation and technology, the human touch is still so important to polish this glass. especially us going into this area where they make those crazy big TV cameras, the ones that they use to shoot NFL or at the Super Bowl or baseball or any type of sports. You see these huge Canon lenses at any kind of major sporting event that needs to be broadcast quality, that has such a crazy variety in terms of focal length. A lot of these lenses cost upwards of $200,000, and the fact that we were able to see these individuals polish them by hand is so cool. And that's not to say a lot of it is done by machines, but they have to load it from area to area. They have to change the material that they're using to polish. But then there are so many stations where you physically have to use your hands to polish it to make sure the surface is absolutely perfect. In fact, I was able to do a bit of the polishing, not on the lens itself, but on this dye that they use to polish the lenses. Japanese craftsman who has been polishing lenses, I think for over 35 years, he showed us how to do it. Of course, I have no skill whatsoever, so I kind of just tried, and it was such a heavy piece of metal and it's so hard to keep in control. I could see how it takes some serious skill to do this kind of precision work. It's just amazing to me because these individuals had to pump out so many of these huge pieces of glass for the demand of all of these broadcast cameras that are used all over the world. You go to the Olympics, you go to even sumo. When we went to watch sumo wrestling in Tokyo, we saw one of those broadcast lenses that honestly didn't make it that far, right? It was just a little bit north of Tokyo where they make these lenses. Next up, we donned on our clean suits and we put on these special slippers where it allows us to go onto this sticky pad so it takes all of the dust. We went into the clean room where they actually assemble the lenses by hand, and I think my favorite part of this whole journey was meeting the individuals, meeting these amazing craftsmen. A lot of them were female. They are so proud and they're responsible for all of the big white lenses. Now, for a lot of those people who don't know, the reason why the super telephoto lenses from Canon are white is because of heat reflection. Now, on all of these huge lenses, what happens when it gets hot is it actually expands and contracts. When it expands, all of the elements actually shift and move. And that's why on a lot of the L series glass, you can actually focus past infinity. And that's because what it does is it's compensating for the fact that the lens is growing or shrinking depending on how cold or hot it is. With that said, the white paint reflects the heat and it tries to keep the internals as cool as possible. So it minimizes the shift. But I had a chance to talk to these individuals, including this woman who was super proud of being on the 100 to 300 station. She told me that they can only build 9 of these lenses. And let me tell you, this is my favorite lens to use now. It's a RF 100 to 300 millimeter L, but it's a f2.8 on the whole focal range from 100 to 300. And this lens has pretty much replaced most of my super telephotos. Part of it is just because while I love the look of the 200 f2 as well as the 400 2.8, it's just so heavy and bulky, and it's just not very useful in terms of so many other types of photography. If you need to have that reach, then fine. Nothing can replace the 400 or 500 or 600 or 800. But with the 100, 300, you have the option of putting the 1.4 extender on, which makes it an f4, or you have the choice of putting the 2 times extender on, which makes it an f5.6. But that's a 200 to 600 millimeter f5.6, and it's still so sharp because of the RF glass and RF technology. Paired with the R series bodies, it's second to none. It really is cheating, and that's why I absolutely love using this type of glass. We had a chance to look at every single station and every single part of the 100, 300 getting made. This very nice woman wanted me to help them make this 100 to 300, which involved me inspecting the element, blowing the dust off of it, and then actually installing it. So it was interesting. I can say I honestly helped building one of the 9 that they built that day, which was such an interesting experience for me. As I mentioned, there were so many things that we saw that I couldn't film, that I couldn't show, but I was so happy that they were able to show this much at least, because this is more than I've ever seen. It really makes me so happy to know that the 100 to 300 that I have now was potentially made by this Japanese craftsman or someone on our team. It's a small team of individuals that just work on this very specialized lens. You have to remember, as of this recording, this lens is about $11,000. Yes, it's very expensive, but you get what you pay for. If you take care of your equipment, it'll last you pretty much forever. The thing that I always say is glass never stops being glass unless you destroy it, or unless you let it mold, or unless you don't take care of it at all. And the reason why I say that is because the first ever L lens that I ever purchased was the 17-40 f4 that I bought off Craigslist so many years ago for $400 used. I still use this lens today on my Supra camera car, and it's still perfect. But we just take care of it, and we service it, and we clean it, and we make sure we always have a protective element on it. So with something like that, as long as I don't crash into somebody when I'm filming them, that lens is gonna last for the rest of my life. Huge thanks to Canon, as always, for having me out. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you wanna support us, go to camerasandcarculture.com to pick up t-shirts like this, or my book, Life at Shutter Speed, or diecast, or prints. I sign all of the prints myself. I print them out myself on Canon printers. So thank you so much for your support.